Hey everybody, Ashton here from MuseThemes.com, and today we're taking a look at our AddThis.com Social Tools widget. AddThis.com social tools have become very popular over recent time, and they can be utilized on sites of any size. In fact, some of the largest and highest profile sites on the web are using their social tools today. Now, some of you may be wondering, why should I use AddThis.com's tools instead of the regular social buttons already available as standalone widgets currently? Well, aside from the incredibly dynamic range of functionality and display options that AddThis offers, the analytics tools available from AddThis are pretty much essential if you'd like to keep track of how much social media is actually impacting your site or your business. In the AddThis portal, you have the power to create a wide range of button styles and functionalities. You can use floating buttons, pinned, banners, pop-ups, and much more. And best of all, it's all free to use. Let's get started. The first thing you'll need is to create an account at AddThis.com. So I'm going to click here from the homepage on Continue with Email. And we'll enter our email and create a password. And then we'll click Let's Get Started. And then we're immediately prompted to start building a tool. Now we're presented with 6 options for various tools and functions here. Our widget works with 3 of these options. So you've got share buttons, which allow users to share the page that the widget is actually placed on. You've got follow buttons, which allow users to follow you on your social media channels. And then you've got website tip jar, which allows you to accept donations on your website. Now, some tool types have more button display options than others, but share definitely has the most. So let's make a sharing button. We'll click share. And then we're taken to an editing dashboard where we start by picking a tool type, which will control how it behaves on your page. You've got floating, inline, expanding, and the thing is, many of these are actually pinned options, which appear at a certain place on your page and remain there as the user scrolls, making them always available. Let's start by selecting floating, and then we'll click Continue at the bottom. And then you're going to get several tabs here with many options that allow extensive customization of your tool. Now, I'm not going to go into every single setting in detail, but just make sure that you explore your options here within. You've got design tools here with this tab where you can customize the size and the color. And then over here we've got counter settings. And then we've got positioning. And then finally behavior on the pages. So there's lots to work with here. Finally, when you're ready to go, just select Activate Tool. And that's it. Next, we're brought to a page where you're going to get a bunch of instructions here on how to embed the AddThis code onto your website. But you do not need any of this. Remember, we're not doing a direct embed. We're using a widget to perform the embed for us. So all we need to do is grab the AddThis ID, and you can find it in the URL. There's a string of numbers and letters we can see here in the middle, starting with that RA and a dash. Now keep in mind, depending on what page of the site you're actually viewing this on, the string may be in a different position of the URL, perhaps at the end. But it's the only part of the URL with this long sequence of letters and numbers, so we're going to select it and hit Command-C to copy. And that's it. We're ready to implement it on our site. Let me switch over to Muse where I've got our year in review theme pulled up and ready to customize. Now let's jump into our library where we've got our AddThis widget already imported. And from the drop-down, we can see 3 options that we already mentioned. We have follow buttons, share buttons, and tip jar. So let me grab a share button since we just created one of those, and we'll drag it out onto our page. Now keep in mind, most of the tool types are pinned to a specific place on the page, such as expanding or pop-ups or floating like the one we made. So for any tool type like this, you can place the widget anywhere on the page as it won't affect its placement. I'll just keep it off canvas here to the right just to keep it out of the way. Now our year in review theme here is a single page site, so I can just place this anywhere on the page. But if you're working with several pages, you have the option to place it on individual pages as seen here, or to place it on a master page, which will apply the widget site-wide. Additionally, if you have several pages you want the widget to appear on, but not every single one, you can still place the widget on a master page, and then you can enter the pages that you want to exclude the widget from in your customization options at your AddThis.com dashboard, which is handy. The only major exception to this would be inline buttons, which are designed to appear exactly where you place them on the page. So in this case, you'll probably want to just place those on each individual page where you want them to appear, unless of course it's in a header or footer from a master page. So inside the settings panel for my share button, our first option here is the AddThis ID, which of course we've already copied from our AddThis account, so I'm just going to paste this inside.
Perfect. Now we don't need an inline tool ID since we didn't create one of those. So right now I can already give this page a preview. And we get our social tools popping up on the side of our page very nicely.
Now let's jump back to the AddThis website.
The cool thing about this widget is now that I've got the ID entered and the widget already uploaded onto my site, I can customize the functions of the widget inside the AddThis dashboard, and it will automatically be reflected on the site without needing to re-upload anything from Muse.
And I can even build new tools this way. So we're going to click on the Tools button in the top toolbar, and let's click Add New Tool. And we'll do a Share button again. And this time, let's do an expanding tool. So we'll click Continue. And we'll just change a few things around here. This first tab here is where you can customize the specific platforms that it's shareable to. So just click Selected by You to customize that. And let's go to Design. And we'll give it a black color scheme. And then for position, it's already set to bottom right, which sounds good. Let's click Activate Tool.
Now the cool thing here is, even though you've made a new tool, your AddThis ID stays the same, which is great because we don't have to change anything in Muse.
Let's click to our tools again. And of course now we have two tools in our account. I'm going to click the green toggle button next to the floating tool to disable it for now. And don't worry, whenever you disable a tool, it is still archived and can be accessed whenever you like. Just click the drop down for all tool types and then select Archived.
So literally, without touching Muse, we can already go back to our site preview,
and we'll refresh the page. And our floating tool is gone, and we're now greeted with a new tool here in the lower right as promised, where we can hover to expand, since this is an expanding tool, and share the page this way now, which is super awesome.
So there's a ton you can do from the AddThis dashboard, and you can make revisions and customizations to your social sharing buttons very easily without needing to reload anything into Muse or needing to re-upload anything on your site.
Now there's one more thing I want to go over, and that's inline tools, as I mentioned before. So back in the AddThis portal, we're going to click Add New Tool once again. And let's do a follow button this time. And we're going to select Inline for tool type. This is going to allow you to place the buttons directly on your page somewhere instead of them being pinned. So we'll click Continue.
And for the sake of demo, I'm just going to set up one of these. We'll do Facebook, and I'm going to enter the username for our without code Facebook, which is Websites Without Code.
There. Let's click Activate. Perfect. Now let's click back to our tools page once more. And just like before, I'm going to disable the old tool, the expanding button, so we're only working with our inline button. Now we can see a little difference here. We have an inline tool ID listed for this one, and it's just a small 4-digit code. So we're going to take note of that, and we're going to switch back to Muse, because remember, for the inline tools to function, there's a second ID that needs to be entered into the widget panel. So we'll open our library. We'll drag out a follow button this time, since we created a follow button. We'll enter our 4-digit inline tool ID. And finally, we can't forget to copy over our AddThis ID from the first button, so let me grab that. And we'll paste that into our new button. Perfect. Now I can get rid of my old share button. Now again, since we're working with an inline button, we do need to actually place this somewhere on the page where we want it to live. So I'll just place it on the top left corner of this Our Vision section here. Perfect. Let's do another preview. And I would recommend, even after doing another preview or another publish, that you give the website a refresh. Sometimes you may not see the updates reflected immediately. So if that happens, give your page a refresh. And if you're still having difficulty, give your tools page on AddThis.com a refresh as well. So there we have our inline share button functioning beautifully. So that's our AddThis.com social tools widget from Muse. I hope you enjoy. Lots to play with here and some powerful tools that can do a lot for a business. Especially the analytics that AddThis.com will generate for your tools. Now it'll take a couple of days for them to show up in your account at AddThis, so keep that in mind. Our widget places a bit of code on your site that allows AddThis to find it and remember your domain and then begin to track your analytic data. But the process is automatic, so keep an eye out for that once you've gone live with your tools.
Thanks again for watching, and if any other issues arise, we're always here to help. Take care.